Hello and welcome back to You Don't Look It, the podcast that has basically everything we want, and that's it. No, we try to talk about a little bit of personal stuff and some historical stuff for you. But how have you been, Danny?
At the moment you asked me that question, my brain went completely blank. So there's that.
I was like, I wish I knew.
I wish
Thanks
I knew.
for asking.
I wish I knew. Did like a training thing with Ivar's trainer tomorrow, which went really well. He's getting better around dogs. Except for we are working on this like claiming space exercise for dogs that like try to forge ahead or like there's always a dog that's like underfoot.
Yeah.
And Ivar doesn't like to forge ahead, but he's always under your feet. So she's like,
Gotcha.
Okay, we're gonna do this exercise where you walk into them and you keep walking into them until they turn around and walk away. And Ivar was just not happy about it. And I'm like, I'm so sorry, dude. Like,
oh my gosh.
And I was like, it's going to ruin our
man.
relationship. He's going to hate me. He's not going to work. And then we went to go grab lunch and he was like actually waiting at the trunk at the back of the car at the hatchback because he rides in the very back. And he was like waiting there. He's like, all right, I'm ready to go. Let's go.
Oh, what a good boy.
And his new raincoat, which he hates, which he didn't seem to care that I was putting on him. So I'm like, maybe this exercise, even though he hates it, is actually good for him.
Right. Well, that's good.
Animal psychology is weird. He still won't get out from underneath my fucking feet, though, when I don't have a leash on him, so that's great.
What a little hoe bag, honestly. Oh my gosh. What did I do this week? I had a doctor's appointment. I went to the OBGYN. That was thrilling. Rudy was a little hoe. He literally licked the nurse's neck while I was on the table.
Ooh,
I was like,
that's an extra level of gross. Because I figured when you said that he licked her, I thought you meant like, oh, he licked her hand or he licked her foot or something. But her neck.
She was crouched down and
getting
she's
all
very
up
much
in
a
your
face.
grundle.
Yeah. he's a face licker, and I mean a mask being there makes it a little difficult.
So he goes for the next best thing, the neck.
Exactly. And they were very nice about it. I'm like, I'm sorry he's being so terrible. COVID has really set us back. And they were really nice, which I appreciate, but I felt embarrassed that he was being so hoey. But then I went to my friend Virginia's and we trained with him and we did some work on his e-collar. Because his biggest thing is if people talk to him while I'm not right there, he's like, oh, hell yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
he's like, I can get away with this. It's party time.
Right. So I have 2 more appointments this week. So I'm hoping he's not
hopefully he
going
like
to the dentist.
Helps though.
Because I don't.
Like, hopefully that training session is like, okay, this is what I'm supposed to. Because a lot of it, I realize a lot of Ivar's problems with stuff like that. It's like, he literally just doesn't know what his role is when that's happening.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's definitely. Rudy he loves people. So that's always been his biggest weakness. And I mean, it is my fault for not training more during COVID, but also it is harder to train around.
Like, how do you
strangers.
Train around people? Because, like, I was working with Ivar on crowds before COVID, and I'm like, okay, well, that's literally 100% out of the question now.
Yep.
Like, that's just not going to happen. And I took him to the mall recently, and there was a huge-ass crowd, and because I always park at, like, one of the big department stores, because they never have anybody in the parking lot, because our mall is kind of, like, circular, and you can just park on any entrance.
Yeah, that's how ours is, too.
So I always park, like, on the deserted side of, like, a Macy's or a Belk's where nobody shops, unless they're old. Yeah. And nobody was in the Macy's or the Belk's, and I was like, okay, sick. And then I walked out to the main part of the mall, and I'm like, what the fuck? What the fuck? And it's South Carolina. Nobody's wearing a mask, obviously.
Great.
And
naturally.
I'm like, guys, are you kidding me?
There's a pandemic.
There's a pandemic. And it kills me. And I'm getting ready to move, and we were looking at some, like, the stats. Because I was like, yeah, there's only 1,000 people that live on the island. And, like, only 400 people that live within the city. And, like, the last time that they had, like, a legitimate crime was... Actually, we looked all the way back to 2005, because that was how far the records went. There has not been a murder there since before 2005.
Wow.
And the worst thing that happens is, like, car theft. which could literally, everybody leaves their keys in their car there and leaves them unattended because nobody steals them. And so it's most likely somebody's teenager that stole the car.
Right.
And, like, there's, like, some assaults, like, no more than 4 a year, and it's most likely domestic violence.
Yeah, that's true.
And so I'm like, yay, this is going to be safe. And, like, nobody there wears a mask, but nobody leaves the island. And nobody on the island has had COVID yet. So I'm kind of like, good. Okay, I'm on my safe little island.
Yeah, COVID that's free. Nice, though. COVID free. COVID free. Oh, that's funny. Oh, yeah. Oh, I have two appointments next week. Not thrilled. One's tomorrow. Oh my gosh, I'm so tired. I'm sorry.
Good.
One's tomorrow and one's Tuesday. Not thrilled. I have my dentist appointment.
Yeah,
I chipped my goddamn
I know. Tooth. I was going to say, right? You chipped a tooth. I can't see it though, so it's not big.
Unless you're in person and can are staring at my tooth, you can't really see. It's mostly on the front, like got scraped.
Yeah.
And then a tiny, tiny piece on the bottom. So they'll most likely just want to polish it smooth.
Or like chisel it down a little bit.
Yeah, but basically I was eating chicken pad thai and I bit my fork because apparently I don't know how to eat. And so that was great. It hurt a bit. I was like,
really?
Oh God, that sound was quite terrible. Yeah, so I have the dentist. They just moved my regular appointment up, which is nice. And I don't mind the dentist, so that shouldn't be bad. Rudy's not going there because just the rooms are small and I don't feel like I need him at the dentist. So.
I've never taken Ira to the dentist just because, like, I can't watch him. He's never given me a reason to believe that he can't behave at a doctor's appointment. But I know the second that I expect him to be 100% independent in being, chill.
Right.
He's not going to do it. Like, I don't think I have never once had to correct him in a doctor's office. But I know the second that I am, like, in a chair with a drill in my mouth, he's going to do something fucking stupid.
He's like, oh, what's going on?
He's like, oh, is it time for me to get up now? Is it time for me to chew on this now? Like, bitch.
What a guy, though. Oh, my gosh. Yeah. My other appointment is I finally found a primary care doctor here. Since moving in 2018.
Seriously, haven't you lived there for like almost 3 years now?
Yep. The only reason I think I finally got one now is because my pediatrician from Maine is refusing to refill my medication. So
I'm so proud of you.
That's where we are, and I'm bringing Rudy to that one. Even though he was a little hoey, I think he's done better. We've trained at home as well, and I've had like Steven go up to him and be like, "Oh, hello there," and just like talk to him really happily.
E-collars are great for that because you can just do a little like really tap and just break the focus.
Exactly. So I have high hope. Well, I'm hoping, I should say, for he'll do well. Because I'm worried, but like I want him there because it's my primary care doctor, so I want them to know he's part of my life and part of my treatment plan and everything. And see, like that.
I'm so afraid to tell my doctors, and I can't keep track of what lies I told what doctor. So like, because I bring him to appointments, but I don't tell all my doctors that he's my service dog. I tell them that I train dogs, which is not untrue, but that I'm training him, also not untrue. So I kind of lead them to believe that I am training a service dog for somebody else. And because I don't know, they might discriminate against me. Like so
that's fair.
Like he's mainly psychiatric. He does help me with other disabilities, but because I don't have a diagnosis for my physical disabilities, I mainly call him psychiatric because I don't want to say like, oh, he's a mobility dog, but not be diagnosed with anything yet. I mean, I am diagnosed with a hip impingement, but even though that's disabling, it can be fixed with surgery. So I'm kind of like, I'm afraid, which is stupid, to call him anything but a psychiatric service dog, even though he does so much more than psychiatric. And I'm afraid that if I tell them that he's a psychiatric service dog, that they're suddenly going to think, oh, you're med seeking. Oh, you're crazy. It's all in your head. Or, oh, this is going to support my theory that it's just anxiety.
Right. Ugh. That's obnoxious as fuck.
And I saw my last physical therapist on the trail the other day when I was walking with Ivar, and he was doing mobility tasks. He was doing forward momentum pull, and I saw her there, and she saw me there with my dog after it had been 2 years of me working with her and then having left her. And so it looked a little weird, and I think she was suspicious that he was mine all along, and now I'm like, I can't go back to you. You were a great physical therapist, but now I've lied to you, so.
Oh, God, what a mood, though. I told on the form, because I signed up through the website, like ZocDoc or something.
Mm-hmm.
So I put on the form, it was like, any additional info? And I was like, I have a service dog. All I ask is that you respect me and don't discriminate against me.
See, I'm so terrified of being discriminated against. I don't tell anybody that I'm disabled or what my disabilities are, because I don't want to deal with it. I want to be taken seriously.
Right. And I feel that.
Even if I were to say, don't discriminate against me, or the ADA prohibits you from discriminating against me, that won't change how they look at me, and that won't change how they treat me. So where they might suggest another patient go in for surgery or start a new medication or start physical therapy, they might tell me not to do any of those things, because even though they're technically not discriminating, they're going to treat me as if I have it all in my head and I'm just nuts or something.
That's fair. Yeah, because I haven't been able to find a psychiatrist. One, because it's hard to find someone who takes my insurance, and two, it's hard to find someone who takes my insurance and will take me. And like the only person I found who would potentially take me, the office like instantly switched gears once I said I had a service dog. And they were like saying that they had special rules around them in their office and special forms and stuff like that. And I was like, that's not real.
Fucking kidding me.
And they were like, yeah, it is. And I'm like, no, it's not. So that was part of the reason I was like, no. And they were just treating me like I was an issue. And I was like, I don't.
But then if you were to walk in and say, hey, I'm a service dog trainer for, an organization, I might have a guide dog in training with me, they would have been fine with it.
Oh, yeah. Probably.
And that's what scares the shit out of me. It's because it's like, I don't even have something that would be considered difficult to treat technically. Because a lot of mental health care, for all of you out there that, don't have mental illness or have never dealt with psychiatric professionals, things that are considered difficult or high risk to deal with would be things like mood disorders and personality disorders and like psychotic disorders. Not everybody can treat them. You have to specialize. And so when they hear that I have a service dog and that he's psychiatric, they suddenly think that it's going to be really, really difficult, even though it's just PTSD. But they are suddenly like, almost everyone can, like, PTSD is not necessarily hard to treat. I definitely think people should specialize in it, because I've been treated by people that definitely shouldn't have been treating me.
Right.
But like, it's not
wow, what a mood.
It's not considered like a really scary disorder that, like, you could be liable for being sued for treating it incorrectly, kind of thing. And I don't know, as soon as they see the service dog, they're like, oh my God, I suddenly can't treat you, I can't help you, you're way too high risk. And I'm like, can you stop? Like,
yeah, can you not?
Can you not?
Can you stop?
Like,
so that's yeah, so we'll see how the appointment goes. She had the doctor had really good reviews, and I'm hoping that I was very happy with because the first doctor's appointment I ever took, he goes to a chiropractor with me, but I spent forever getting doctors here, and so the first one he ever went to with me was the gynecologist, and I was like, this is already a high stress place, I really hope they're like good about it. And they are amazing, they're so nice, completely ignore him, and like,
which is surprisingly hard to find, because I've gone into doctor's appointments where they were like, oh, it's a puppy, like, and I'm like, you're a goddamn nurse, woman. Right? Do you not know better?
I let him say hi to them afterwards, because it's like, you're really respectful of me and my dog, and you don't, you don't treat me any differently. If anything, they treat me with more respect, because they understand, like, I have them for a reason. And So I really like them. So I hope it goes like that with my primary care doctor, and because I'm already anxious going to new places, and I'm especially anxious with him being him recently.
Him.
Because training, and also the fact that I don't have a lot of appointments because I really don't have many doctors here. And who knows if that'll change once I go to my PCP and be like, these are all the issues I'm having. And then if she refers me out to other people, then maybe I'll have more.
Is your new primary care female?
Yes.
Okay, they tend to be better. Just
yeah,
out of my experience.
My pediatrician was a guy, and he was great, and he was our family. Like, he was my brother's when he was younger. And so, but I know, like, as an adult, I want a woman. Plus, I just feel more comfortable with women anyways.
I love my PCP. She is amazing. She's like...
Yeah, I really hope this doctor is good. Everyone said she's really nice, like, lovely, like, takes the time to explain to you everything, like, doesn't just rush through, like, actually, talks to you about what's going on, be like, oh, this is what this means, like, so I really hope she's good for me.
I hope so too, because it's hard to find
it's hard to find it. She's already 40 minutes away. I'm doing a 40-minute away location because I'm like, yeah, so I'm like, this better be good.
Like, because my PCP is the first young female doctor I've ever had, and she was like fresh out of school. She was so knowledgeable. She didn't have this ego about, because like you get to older doctors and they have like an ego about them, like, oh, I mainly treat people with diabetes, so I'm convinced that I'm going to test you for diabetes every time you come in.
Right.
And I'm going to tell you that you're, like, overweight, that you need to lose weight or something, and that it's all your diet, and despite the fact that it might have nothing to do with anything like that.
Right.
She'll actually be like, I don't know what this is. I'm going to research it. If I can't find anything, I'm going to find somebody who can help you. And I'm like, thank you. That's all I want. I do not know is a valid answer.
Right. It's like, I'd rather you tell me you don't know than give me some bullshit off the top of your head.
Or just say, we're going to wait and watch and do nothing. And then
like,
you continue to decline. That was a lot of my male doctors.
Oh my, of course. So we'll see how that goes. That's Tuesday. So I am nervous, but I'm glad to get it over with.
Hell yeah.
And hopefully find some answers or get referrals to people who can maybe give me some answers for things like my allodynia and why my heart rate goes up to 140 when I'm folding laundry.
Yeah, that would be just a nice thing to know, just a nice thing to know.
I'm just curious. This doesn't seem normal.
Like, it doesn't feel right, but just wanted to check.
Right. At first I was like, maybe it's because I don't really exercise, but I'm like, okay, that's no. I'm like, that can't be it.
Oh yeah, I thought my muscle pain was because I was like deconditioned, because a lot of the EDS society will be like, oh, the reason a lot of people with EDS are in wheelchairs is because they decondition. And I'm like, have I been deconditioned? I'm like, absolutely not. I take my dog for a mile walk minimum every day, and I'm still in excruciating pain, and I'm not getting any better, like, stamina wise or muscle wise.
Right. And like, I was talking to some of my friends, I'm like, well, I mean, I obviously don't do as much physical activity as I used to. Like, I've gained a little weight. I'm like, maybe that could be part of it. And they're like, you take care of 9 working dogs at once for like your clients. They're like, you're not out of shape to an extent that it would cause health issues.
Yeah.
Like, they're like,
and even
like,
just
if you
like
were out of shape, you couldn't do that.
Looking at all the shit you do in a day too, I'm like, you're not out of shape. Like, you're still walking your dog, you're still taking care of other people's dogs, you're running a shop, you're fucking on your feet most of the day. Like, you're definitely not deconditioned.
Yeah.
Like,
I know. I may not exercise the way I should, but I still do stuff.
Yeah, and like, that's the majority of the adult population. Like, I know everyone's like, oh, I gotta go to the gym, but like, think about how many people actually go to the gym regularly. It's like,
I know, right?
3% of the population, probably. Maybe that's even high. Like,
we started going to the pool once a week to swim. Yes. So that's been nice on my joints too.
I probably should start swimming more, but I hate my bod.
Wow,
So...
what a movie. Me too.
Don't want to be seen ever. Like,
I feel that. Oh gosh, I feel that. All right. Well, what do you have for me today?
I have a good old saga from middle school.
Ooh.
I call it the
good
Abby
old
Saga.
days. The Abby Saga.
The Abby Saga. So, Abby was a friend of mine from middle school. After I don't think I got kicked out of my first public middle school, but I think I was like one of those things where I just ended up leaving because I was doing really poorly and wasn't like the administration's favorite person to deal with. So that was me a lot. In case you'll pick up on a pattern here with me and authority as a child. Apparently, I had a big problem. But she was a friend from middle school. She got kicked out of the local Colts school that I had mentioned.
When the cult doesn't even want you.
I know. Well, she liked Green Day on Facebook, and then she said "fuck" in a Facebook post, like 2 or 3 times, and they kicked her out.
Oh shit!
Because they stalked Facebook, and apparently Green Day is devil music, and so is the word "fuck." So, goodbye, Abby. Get the hell out of here. Get the fuck out of here.
Goodbye, Abby.
You're not allowed in the cult anymore, Abby. Get out. And she was fucking, this bitch was wild. Oh, also, I want to preface a lot of these stories by saying the things that we did can hurt people. You can go to jail for them. They're illegal. It's not safe.
All right.
Don't do it.
Okay.
I don't condone this. I did this as a uneducated child that did not realize the consequences of some of these actions. It has hit the statute of limitations. I looked because I don't want to be arrested. And so just don't do them, okay, kids? Like, learn from my mistakes. Don't do these things.
All right, I'm ready to hear what the hell these things are.
So, this bitch was fucking great. Also terrible, though. And
great.
Okay, so, like, my mother isn't the best person, but I thought that, like, everybody's mother talked to them in a way that was not the nicest, and did some of the things that were not the nicest to them. And I just thought that was normal. And when I would see her lashing out against her mother for doing similar things, I was kind of like, what the fuck are you doing? She's like, that's abusive. And I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, oh, your mom just throwing random shit at you, like, for something minor. Like, that's abusive. And I'm like, what are you talking about? So she did open my eyes to that. Which,
thank you, Abby.
So I can't fully hate her for the things that she's done. Because she did enlighten me, but at the same time, she crushed my soul.
Oh, jeez.
And so,
Lord.
Abby at the time had conduct disorder, which is basically, I don't really know how to explain it. It's not like, it's a behavioral disorder, but it's to the point where it's like to the extreme. Like, kids that will straight up rob people or try to hurt people physically with like knives and shit. So she, if this doesn't give you an idea of what kind of person she is. And we started going to church together, to youth group, every Wednesday. Party. Because what else you can do to get out of the house when you're like 12, 13?
You go to the Lord's house.
To the Lord's house. And we would skip church, and we would walk down the street to the gas station and buy condoms out of the vending machine, fill them up with water, like water balloons, and throw them into the street and watch trucks drive over them. And they wouldn't pop either. They would just like continuously bounce underneath the cars and like slip, because they're covered in lube, so they would like slip around the street.
Oh my god.
Don't do that. That can kill people. I didn't think about that at 12, but that can kill people.
Oh my gosh. Should have taken a video and sent it into the company and be like, this is your, like, use this in your ads to be like, look how strong they are.
Look how strong they are. Even a car won't pop them. And we would like go to the grocery store down the street and we would get like energy drinks and the canned cheese. I had never seen that before, but like spray cheese
like
in a bottle.
Cheese Whiz or something
Yeah.
like that.
I can't believe that
Yeah,
counts as cheese. I had never seen that before. My mind was blown.
It's weird though.
It is. And then like she was really gross, so she would put it on like the rim of her Monster energy drink and
Ew.
drink it with cheese.
I'm gonna fight her.
I don't like that. That was one of the things that just disgusted me to my core.
I think I'm nauseous. I'm nauseous just thinking of it.
Yeah, no, I can feel my stomach like do a little bit of a twisty thinking about that and tasting it again because that taste never left my memory.
Oh God.
And this bitch was great. Like we would, we had a neighborhood pool, and I would get a membership to the pool, and we would go to the pool and hang out all the time. We would like run around the neighborhood at night, which was like a lot of fun, and like set off fireworks and go swim in the creek and stuff like that. That was like genuinely really fun.
Yeah.
But then things started to like take a turn.
Oh, great.
Yeah. There was an.
And how old were you at this point?
Oh gosh, this would have been like 2010 probably, which would have put me at
like 12, 13?
Yeah, 12 probably, because my birthday's in June. So yeah, 12 or 13.
Okay.
And things started to take a turn when she started to like tell me about this girl in our neighborhood who we referred to as Twat. And I may or may not make you bleep that out later. I'm still determining if that's an alias enough for this.
Did she deserve this nickname?
I would say yes, but now that I'm older, I'm not sure. So,
all right.
Abby had told me that Twat had sexually assaulted her. Oh shit! We're gonna have to put that in the trigger warnings. I forgot to mention that. And
so I can put in the notes.
Okay, yeah. Sick. And I was like, pardon? And she said yes. And then she described what happened. And so 12-year-old me, with the brains of a literal hamster, was like, well, I can't tell any adults about this because it's not mine to tell, because confidentiality, which I still to this day kind of believe. I'm like, right. Confidentiality is really important. If somebody's a victim of a crime, it's not my place to tell anybody unless they're still in active danger.
Right.
So I'm kind of the mind of
I feel that though. I
can't tell anybody about this because it shouldn't be telling anybody until Abby's ready to tell people. So my brain just went, well, Twat still hangs out with us. So I'm just going to make it hell for her to be around Abby. And so I bullied the shit out of her. Because
oh my lord.
I had 12-year-old bird brains, and that was my solution, was you're not coming anywhere near my friend, so I'm going to make your life suck. And it worked for a while until her mom called my mom and was like, your child's a cunt. And I'm like, yeah, well, your child's a predator, but whatever. So.
Oh my God.
But I couldn't tell my mother that, so I just took the L. Because I was like, you know what? And now my mom to this day thinks that Twat was the one who got me. And I'm like, no, I promise. It was not me. I'm just too much. That's what it is, I'm too much, and nobody's ever gonna fuck with my friends, and that's how it's gonna be. But
oh my gosh.
I think after that year, I transferred to either a different middle school or a new high school. I really can't remember. And I was still going to school with Abby, and Abby was starting to get. Well, already was really depressed and was self-harming. Oh shit, another trigger warning. Sorry. Trigger warning for self-harm. Should have written these all down before I told this story.
It's all good. I'll write it all out.
Okay, sick. And so Twat, I don't know why, but she was still trying to hang around Abby a lot, and was also trying to mimic Abby. So she wasn't actually self-harming, but she was pretending to be really depressed and stuff, I guess, to get attention as well, or something. I don't
like that.
I didn't really like that. She was and I don't know the full story because I wasn't going to school there, but it did kind of look like she was mimicking Abby. And so Abby, being the crazy ass bitch that she is, cornered her in the bathroom with a razor blade and was like, do it, hurt yourself.
Oh, like, do it, you won't, bitch.
Yeah, and basically just stood there and yelled at her until she did it, and then...
Oh my god! Holy shit!
Yeah, and so, like, needless to say, me and Abby are not really friends anymore.
Yeah,
because, like,
Abby, girl, jeez,
I don't
calm
see
your
any
tits.
problem in defending yourself, but, like...
Oh, yeah, not at all.
Take it a little too far.
Oh, yeah, no, that...
And if you wanted...
That sounded more like an attack than a defense.
Like, and if you want to take down the person that assaulted you, like, report it to the authorities. Don't go out and cut them, literally. Like...
Right.
That's just...
It's like...
That's not the best way, the most adaptive way to handle this
Especially not in the bathroom at school.
Right? And, I mean, she would also, like, drink at school and do drugs at school and shit like that, so...
Oh my god. Jesus.
And remember, we're in middle school. We are not...
Oh my god, I forgot about that.
Right?
Jesus.
Think about it. She's, like, 13.
Oh my lord.
So, the bitch was a lot. She was also kind of, like, a little bit emotionally damaging to me, because she'd be like, I have nobody loves me, nobody's my friend, and I'm like, I'm your friend, and she's like, you don't count, and I'm like, oh, okay, cool.
Oh my god, fuck that.
Yeah, so, and I'm sure I have a lot more other stories, but I just genuinely can't remember them right now. But fair. We're gonna fast forward a few years to, like, I want to say 2017 or 2018.
No, not too long ago.
Yeah, we hadn't been close friends in a while. I still occasionally, she would text me and I would text her back. But you can look through her Instagram to this day, and she'll, like, she got really addicted to drugs, and she'll, like, cycle through, like, self-help and, like, recovery memes to, like, meth memes. And then back to self-help and recovery, and then back down to meth memes.
What a roller coaster.
I know, and I didn't know there were meth memes out there. There's legitimate meth memes. The meth community is making memes, guys.
Oh my god, that's honestly crazy. Think about it. Any community you can probably think of probably has a fuck ton of memes, and there's a lot of communities we're not a part of.
It's really hard to understand too, because I would see ones that, like, it was one that was like a picture of money and a picture of, like, sheets with, like, burn holes in them, and it would be like, my dealer's pockets look like this so that my sheets can look like this, and I was like, what the fuck? It took so long for me to connect the dots that was, like, a meth meme, and it had something to do with meth burning holes in your sheets.
Oh my gosh. Jesus. Oh, Abby.
C'est la vie.
She gets the help.
And this was the last time I interacted with her, but I went over to her house because she was living in a house with her boyfriend, and they had no electricity because they hadn't paid the bills, and somebody had recently robbed them at gunpoint. So,
that's great.
Yeah, a lot of things were missing, and she was sober because she couldn't afford meth. And I helped her clean up a meth den, and it was really sad and, like, horrifying, and a lot of the meth memes make sense now. And
oh my lord.
I just remember, like, they have all these, like, picking tools, because when you're high on meth, you like to, like, pick things. And, like, they would make all these weird little tools to, like, pick things clean with. And, like, she had, like, these horrible, like, holes all over her chest and face from picking at her face. And, like, burn marks all over her from, like, cigarettes and meth. And I just, like, it was the most surreal experience I've ever had in my life. I really should have worn gloves. I should have worn a mask. But I was just sitting there putting old soda cans into, like, a bag. And then we hung out for a little bit and, like, got coffee. And then she's contacted me a few times, but I'm like, you know what? Until she can prove that she can be, like, sober for a good amount of time, I'm not going to interact with her anymore.
Right. It's fair.
So, yeah, I checked her Instagram recently, and I'd like to say that it was a happy ending, but she has circled back to meth memes, so...
Oh, I hope she gets help.
I know, I really do hope she gets help, because, like, there were a lot of times in middle school and high school where I would hang out with her occasionally, and I'd pick her up after getting released from a mental hospital, and we'd go get our nails done and go get food and stuff. And
it sounds like a damn party, and exactly what I want to do after getting released from the goddamn psych ward.
And I always felt, like, I to this day, like, really feel for her, because she grew up in a cult, and her mother was
true.
her mother was really old when she had her. So her mother was like 60 when we were in middle school, and just not equipped to handle a child with conduct disorder, and honestly was using really old school parenting methods.
Right.
And so I really just think a lot of the cards were stacked against her.
Yeah.
And I do feel bad about it to this day. But, like, at the same time, I'm like, you know, you gave me a little bit of childhood trauma. So.
Right.
We're going to.
I feel bad for you, but it doesn't change what happened to me as a result of having you in my life.
Yeah. And there were a ton of other things that I'm not going to get into because I think it would get a little bit too dark and I'd have to circle back to, like, assault and shit. And. Fun.
Great.
Yeah.
Great. Well, I enjoyed that story of your wild times with Abby. I still hate that fucking cheese in a can thing now. Yeah. That I can't stop thinking about it. Thank you for that.
Oh,
I got
and then another
friggin' nauseous just hearing about it.
I just remembered another thing involving the canned cheese. I had gone back to the school for like a basketball game or something, and that she had invited me to, and this is back in middle school again. And she just had a can of cheese on her, and we went to the cafeteria, and she just drew pentagrams with cheese on all the cafeteria tables.
Oh my god! Oh my god! That's not very Christian cult of her.
And then she wrote shit.
Oh my lord! Oh my lord! The cult saw her now.
I know. Honestly, there were a lot of really good times with her, and there's so many stories. I literally cannot remember them all. And we were hanging out for like a long time. And for a long time, she was my only friend. So if you guys want more stories about her, I have them. A lot of them involve drugs. I apologize. That's just how it is.
It's not much to do in the South, is there?
No, there really isn't.
That's fair.
That's why there's so much meth.
Oh my gosh. Well, I enjoyed those stories. I am glad you shared those with me.
What do you have today?
I have a grand old story for you. Kind of spooky ooky since it's almost Halloween. This will come out the day before Halloween, I believe. So, my story is basically it's this guy's Twitter feed of a creepy ass experience he had. So it's this guy named Greg. I'll say his actual handle at the end because I know if I say it now, Danny will probably try and go look at it.
Is this the Onion Man?
I don't know anything about an onion, so no.
Oh, okay. I think it's Onion Son or something like that. Do you remember him? He's like a pedophile that was on YouTube for a really long time.
No, I do not know him.
Oh, I will go into that. But story.
This guy's name is Greg, and I just know Danny will looks up my story sometimes when I talk about it. So I'm not telling
sorry.
her his handle.
I have too much curiosity. I want to know.
No, I feel that. So I'll say his handle at the end to give him credit and all of that. But it's this guy named Greg, so I'm basically going to read you his Twitter feed. And the shit gets wild. And as we go, I will send you links and pictures to what he posts.
Onision. Sorry. That was the Onion Man I was talking about.
I was like, what's happening? But I'll send you pictures so you can see what the fuck I'm talking about. Okay. So, on July 22nd, 2018, Greg made a post on Twitter saying, guess I'm gonna try Twitter again. And then he said, why does watching a movie at home feel like a huge commitment, but I can easily watch 17 episodes of Extreme Child Baker Showdown without batting an eye? Also, what a mood. He said, tonight I tried to pay my bar tab with MoviePass card in case you're wondering how my night is going. And then he said, the worst part about smelling eggs on the morning train is that you don't know if someone is eating a breakfast sandwich or someone ate a breakfast sandwich an hour ago.
Ew.
And he said, maybe this year I'll finally watch Lost. And they talked about he has a picture of a cocktail, and then he has a picture of a breakfast he made. And so that was all between July 22nd and August 16th of 2018.
That's really not a lot of tweets.
No, and so these are all posts that happen before the story occurs, which is why some people, like more people are like, okay, like he clearly did, like they're like he didn't just make it for the story, so the story must be real.
Yeah, it just adds a little bit of validity that it wasn't some random account made for a spooky story.
Right, exactly. And so on August 27th, he said, just found out my grandpa died. Never really knew him, but still. My mom never even wanted to talk. My mom never wanted to talk about him, and I never really asked. And then he has a picture of a little slug, and it says, made a new friend. And then he said, on October 29th, 2018, he said, something weird is happening in the woods outside of my house, and I don't know what to do.
Oh no, is it the clown? Oh no, you said it doesn't involve clowns.
Yeah, this doesn't involve clowns.
Damn, I thought it was like Scary Clown Town time again. Because you remember the clown situation that happened in like 2016 to 2017.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was fucking
Screw
freaky.
that. Nope, screw those clowns. He said, so on October 29th, again, he posted, I guess I should start at the beginning. This isn't really my house. It was my grandpa's, but I guess it's mine now. He died a couple months ago, and because of some tricky paperwork, I'm apparently responsible for it now. And so he has some pictures of a nearby lake and the forest and all the trees. He says he lived pretty far away up in the mountains by the lake. There are a couple other houses down the road, but they seem like they're empty for the season. I assume they're summer houses. I've been here for a few days, and it's really pretty, but it's super quiet and chilly. So he's basically just up here in the forest in this cabin. And there are other houses, but none that he can like see from his house or anything, but they're on kind of the same road. So he said, my mom never talked about my grandpa, and I only met him once when I was really young. I think they had a bad relationship, but the few times I asked about it, she got annoyed and changed the subject. So basically, I don't really know what I'm doing here. The guy from my grandpa's estate basically told me the house is mine now, so I came up here to sell it as fast as I can and go home. I guess it's not that easy to just sell a house, especially one in the middle of nowhere.
Which is honestly probably how he ended up with it.
Right. At any rate, I think I'm alone up here, or at least I was. I figured I'd be up here for a couple weeks to get this all handled, and then I'd go home and be done with it. I'm on a break from grad school, so I don't have any other responsibilities at the moment. But now weird things are starting to happen. It started on my third day here. There's a little town about 25 minutes away, and I'd gone to get some food and supplies since I don't know how long I'm staying. When I got back that evening, there was something strange on my door. And so I am going to send you a picture.
Ooh, am I going to get big spooked? Do I need to take like emergency anxiety meds?
It's possible.
Okay, cool. we'll take a break if I have to like take a chill pill, literally.
Sounds Gucci.
I spook easy, guys. Like for somebody that has nightmares like I have, I spook really, really easy.
So he said
that's
it was
unsettling.
this artifact.
That's
he said, I don't know what to call it. It was obviously handmade. It was made of sticks and twine and had some small bones tied to the middle of it. So this is tied onto the handle of his door.
Okay, that's not a hex, but it's not nice either.
So, so it's already great. And so he said, I didn't think too much of it at the time. I figured it was probably a kid from one of the other houses trying to mess with me, so I took it off the door and tossed it in the fireplace.
Those are like toe bones. Oh, you burned it? You never burned
it.
No.
I know, right?
I'm sorry. Everyone that's like, oh, burn a Ouija board after you finish using it. Don't ever fucking do that. That's a terrible idea. Never do it. Don't break it either. Never break it. Put it away. Like, cleanse it. Do whatever you gotta do. But don't burn it. Don't break it. That's a terrible fucking idea.
It really is. It really fucking is. And I was like, why are you burning it? No. He said, by the next morning, I'd pretty much forgotten about it. And honestly, I had too much on my plate at the moment to worry about some kid's prank. So I got up that morning, made some breakfast, and went out on the deck with some coffee. I was sitting there drinking my coffee when I noticed something hanging in a tree just over the railing. It was another one of those artifacts. And so it was basically the same looking thing. This one didn't have bones on it, but it was similar.
Those look like toe bones.
I will send you the link to that because it'll just be easier than mind sending the picture.
Like, it looks like a piece of broken, like, forearm and then a toe joint. So these look like they're from two different animals. Sorry, guys. I paint bones. I am part of vulture culture. That's my shit. Okay, so that little white one, it looks like it could be a tooth or a shell. I'd have to get a closer look at it, though.
It looks kind of like a rockish thing when I zoomed in.
Yeah.
But I don't know. And then he said, and then almost immediately I saw another one in a tree farther down by the ground. I went down the deck steps to retrieve it, and then I started seeing even more of them. I found about 8 in total hanging in the trees all around the house.
Well, they're all a little bit different, too. So it's got to be like a puzzle.
Yeah, so there's some with feathers. There's some with, it looks like a different kind of bone. They're very interesting.
I'm all about this witchy shit, actually. I'm very intrigued.
He might be a little sketched eventually.
I mean, I'd be very sketched if it were me there out there alone, but like looking at it after the fact, very intriguing.
True.
Also, this guy is like taking very nice pictures of these. I find that very strange.
I know, right?
That's what makes me think this might be a little bit fake.
That's fair. But also, I mean, some people just always have a camera.
That's like a mouse jaw.
Is it?
On one of them, yes.
Ugh.
And then like a tiny little feather. I don't know where he is either, like where in the country this is, but it looks like from the leaves it's the East Coast. Guys, sorry, that is interesting piece of bone. That's like cartilage.
Are you talking about the bottom right one?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that one is weird.
That's really interesting. I'd love to know what that came off of.
So, I know, right?
It's all good. I sound like a creepy nature bitch, but that's a little bit what I am. And every time I go somewhere new, I'm like, let's learn the animals, let's learn the plants. Let's go, guys.
Let's look, bitches.
Let's look. Let's learn our plants. Make sure we don't eat anything poisonous.
Right. So he was like, they all had different objects tied to them, bones, feathers, that sort of thing. It was definitely weird, but I was more annoyed than anything, thinking that someone was in my yard decorating the trees with these ugly goth Christmas ornaments. Also, if someone was trying to scare me, it was going to take more than some bullshit arts and crafts project to do the trick. I gathered all the artifacts together and burned them like the first one.
First of all, even if it's not like a hex or anything, like, why would you burn them? They're kind of cool.
Right.
Like,
right. Oh my god. Yeah, no, bad idea. After I disposed of all the stick things, I took a shower, got dressed, and went back outside to do some tidying and whatnot. The deck and the yard are sort of overgrown and leaves are starting to fall and cover everything. Being a new homeowner is a lot of work, turns out. That was when I found something that actually did make me nervous. I was raking a corner of the yard when I saw something dark on the ground off in the trees. I couldn't tell what it was from afar, so I went to investigate. At first I thought it was a blanket, but when I got closer, it looked like a big sweatshirt or hoodie or something. I didn't want to touch it, but it was obviously clothing. What?
Is it a skin?
Is it a skin?
Yes, like a fur, like a pelt.
No, it's not.
Oh, damn.
And
it is literally like a towel.
It was just some clothing, yeah. Maybe a sweatshirt. He said, I looked around and realized it was a whole encampment. There were a couple of old socks, a pair of what I think was underwear, gross, a few old napkins scattered around a plastic spoon, and creepiest of all, a beat-up notebook.
Honestly, it could literally just be a coven out there doing their shit.
That's fair. That's fucking fair. He said, I flipped open the notebook, but nothing was written inside. A whole bunch of pages had been ripped out of it, so I know someone had been using it. Plus, you could sort of see the shadow of pen marks on the most recent page. I couldn't make out what had been written, though. Anyway, that definitely freaked me out. It was clear someone was camping out on my property and possibly trying to scare me out of the house. I wasn't really sure what to do about it, though. What could I do? I definitely didn't sleep well that night.
I mean,
that was the day before yesterday.
It could literally just be homeless people, too. I mean, a lot of homeless people.
That's fair.
We had, like, my grandfather had a bunch of old farms and shit that his parents had passed down to him and whatnot. And I remember when my dad went and started hunting one of the properties, he found little camps and shit and like evidence that people had been there. And it's literally, it's usually, sometimes it's just campers that like, you know, for whatever reason aren't going to a state park. And then sometimes it's homeless people, but genuinely they're like pretty harmless.
That's fair, yeah. I think it was also because he was kind of in the middle of nowhere, so he's like, why would anyone
That's true.
be out
I mean,
here?
the hunting property was in the middle of nowhere too, but like honestly, there's nothing to do in South Carolina except for like do meth and make booze in the woods. So honestly,
and make booze in the woods, great.
We found a few little like moonshine distilleries on one of the properties, and we just left them.
Oh my gosh!
Because we're like, well,
like all right.
We don't like we left them, and we're like, well, we don't know what to do about it, so we're gonna come back later and deal with it. And they were gone, so we're like, okay, not our problem.
All right, seems legit. So he said that was the day before yesterday, and so we sang this on October 29th. So it means it was October 27th, 2018. The next morning, I sort of expected some weird artifacts to be outside, but I didn't see anything, and the encampment was gone, so I figured it was probably a homeless person passing through or something. The driveway ends a ways up from the house, and then you have to trek down a path which bends around the side of the house to get in. I was walking around the house when I saw some movement across the yard near a tree. I froze dead in my tracks. I thought it was the end of it and turned my attention back to the house. I realized the house had almost no cleaning products, and I needed to pick up supplies again. I drove into town and picked up some Windex, some spare light bulbs, and some other stuff, then came home.
It's time to get a dog, my dude.
I know, right? He said someone was standing under a tree staring at my house. They didn't see me, though, since I was also partly behind some trees and a good distance away. Whoever it was, they were wearing the same dark hoodie I'd seen in the grass the day before.
Oh, I don't like that. I don't like that at all.
And guess what, honey bunches? I got a picture for you.
Oh, no. Is it a scary picture? Don't send it if it's scary.
It's not like too scary. It's just like, that's weird. I wouldn't want to encounter that.
I'm gonna be taking my dogs out to pee tonight, and I'm gonna see something in the woods, and I'm gonna shit myself.
I'm gonna have to do so much editing on this one because I clearly don't know how to work technology.
I feel that.
Okay. As quietly as I could, I set down my shopping bags next to me and slipped my phone out of my pocket. I managed to take a couple photos, but the person turned and disappeared into the woods.
Oh, I don't like that. He looks like he's wearing like a cape.
I know, right?
Oh, I don't like that. It looks like, what are they called? The Death Eaters?
Oh, yeah.
In Harry Potter with like the really big hoods. I don't fucking hate that.
Ugh, no. So I stood there for a couple minutes, too nervous to move in case the person came back, but they didn't, so I picked up my bags and hurried inside. I picked up the phone to call the cops, but put it back down because I didn't even know what I would tell them.
I saw a dude outside my house. I got a photo. Please come and check it out.
He was like, he's like, quote, someone was looking at my house. Like any police officer would take me seriously, and like an idiot, I destroyed all the weird artifacts from before, so there wouldn't even be any evidence. I felt like there was nothing I could do right then.
Oh, fuck that. I've been stalked too many times. I keep anything that might possibly be evidence.
That's fair.
Not worth it. It's not worth the risk.
I was mad at myself and feeling scared all alone in the house, so I locked all the doors and left out the back. I went down to the lake because I didn't know where else to go. I just knew I didn't want to be in the house at that moment. I walked a ways down to the lake shore, then sat for a while looking out at the water. I thought about getting in my car and just going home, but I felt that would get me in trouble. There's all sorts of property tax stuff I don't understand. I feel trapped. Sorry. Also, I couldn't decide if I was actually in danger. When my grandpa died, it took me a couple months to actually get up to the house, so maybe someone was squatting in the empty house, and now that I'm here, they might just leave on their own accord. It was starting to get dark, so I reluctantly headed back to the house. I walked up the stairs leading to to the back of the house, but right before going inside, I got this weird chill. I made up my mind that I absolutely did not want to stay in the house overnight. I decided to go get my car and drive to town and find a motel for the night. The house was all locked up and I already had my keys, so I went back around the house and toward the path that led to the driveway. And that's when I saw her, the figure from before, standing right in the middle of my front lawn, staring straight at my house. I froze in place, completely in shock. I was practically right next door, but it was almost as if she didn't see me. Then it hit me. She couldn't see me because she had no eyes. She had no fucking eyes. Just shiny skin over where her eyes should be, and then had almost no hair at all. I wanted to run, but I felt like if I moved even a little, she'd hear me. As quietly as I could, I went for my phone. I needed some sort of evidence to show the cops. It all felt like it was happening in slow motion. I feel sick to my stomach as I'm writing this, but I was able to get it on video.
Oh my god, no, don't send me that. I don't want to know. I don't want to know. It's too real. I'm going to take my chill pill. I don't need to know it.
You don't want me to send
don't send it to me.
Okay. My heart is racing just thinking about this. I haven't been able to watch it since I recorded it, but here it is. Let me watch it again.
I'm gonna go take my chill pill.
Okay.
Oh, I'm scared.
I'm gonna vomit. I'm so scared now watching this again.
Okay, I'm back. I'm actually a huge pussy. Like, I'm not even kidding. I was telling Riley last night that, like, sometimes I see scary faces on, like, TV for, like, you know, Halloween or something. And I get so scared that I, like, don't calm down for a full week.
That's fair. That is quite fair. Yeah, I watched the video again and I want to die.
Did it look real? Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, she looks at him at the end. She like, whips her head back to look at him, and I'm like, I'd rather not.
I don't like that.
Yeah, me either. He said, so I ran back around the house and got inside. I scrambled upstairs and looked out my bedroom window at the front yard, but she had vanished. Remembering it now, it feels like it really didn't happen, like it was a nightmare or something. I called the cops and explained what happened. I'm sure I sounded crazy, but they said they'd send someone by in the morning and to keep my doors locked. So that's where I am now, alone in the woods, freaking out. I know I won't be able to sleep tonight. I feel lightheaded and nauseous. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm scared shitless. And remember, this bitch has no eyes. So in the video, she turns to look at him, but she has no eyes. So she can't see him. And then when she hears a noise, she whips her head around to look at him.
I don't like that at all.
Yeah, no.
I'm very afraid, guys.
The past couple of days have been really strange. I also have shitty reception up here, so I'm sorry. This is now October 31st. Okay. Is this one I'm now reading. He said, so sorry for not updating. They sent a police officer up yesterday morning, but I feel like it didn't accomplish anything. I explained everything to the cop and even took him out to the clearing where I found the stuff, but it was all gone except for the notebook. And since the notebook is empty, it was basically useless. I feel like the cop didn't believe me anyway. I showed him the photos I took of the stick things, and he said at worst it counted as vandalism, but without physical evidence of trespassing, they couldn't do anything. Even when I showed him the video, he still acted really skeptical. He kept asking if I knew the person in the video. I think he thought I was pranking him or something. I ended up just getting frustrated. The cop said to call the station if something happened. After he left, I went back and got the notebook from the clearing. Maybe there was a way to figure out what was written on the last page. I don't know. Anyway, the cop drove away and I was alone again. It's so damn quiet up here. All I want to do is leave, but I feel like I can't. I'm so far away from home that I can't even invite a friend up here to keep me company. And even if someone did come, it would take them a couple of days. I haven't seen the woman from before, but I feel like she's still out there, and other weird things are happening too. I took a walk around the lake yesterday because I wanted to get a look at the other houses in the area, maybe see if someone else had noticed anything weird. But they're all empty, every house is totally dark, and there are no cars in any of the driveways. I haven't seen a single person at all except once. Well, sort of. After I came back from my walk, I was out on the deck and saw a boat in the water, way off in the distance. They weren't moving. They stayed there all afternoon. I feel like they were watching me.
Ew.
I know. They actually stayed out there in the same place until it got too dark to see them anymore. Normally, I think they were just fishing if it weren't for what happened the day before and the fact that all these houses seem empty. Where did they come from? The boat was gone this morning, so who knows? I microwaved some oatmeal for breakfast and took it down to the dock near the water. It's weird, but I sort of feel safer down there. The water makes me feel less stress, I guess. I kind of feel like time goes by faster when I'm on the lake. It's like meditative or whatever. Anyway, I was actually starting to feel a little bit better about everything this morning if it wasn't for what happened next. I'd finished my I'd finished my oatmeal and I was starting back toward the house when I noticed something in the water.
No.
Do you want me to send a picture of
No,
it's
don't
mostly
do
the water
it.
and then okay. I was in this little inlet by the shore. It was small and white, and at first I thought it was a brightly colored rock, but I wasn't sure. It seemed too round. Probably against my better judgment, I took off my shoes and went into the water to retrieve it.
I don't like
it. Was
this.
an eyeball.
Oh.
It was a fucking eyeball.
Like a fisheye or like a person?
It looks pretty human to me. There's a close-up picture of it.
I don't want it. I don't want it. I don't need it.
I figured you probably wouldn't.
And you know what's really funny is that, like, I have fed eyeballs to my dog before, but, like, just, like, the context of this is too much for me.
That's fair. So the picture is him holding the eyeball in his hand. This had to be from some animal, right? Please tell me this was from a big fish or something. I threw it back in the water and hustled back up the house. I washed my hands in the sink and then sat on the couch for a long time. I don't know what's going on. I can't believe I picked that up out of the water. I still feel gross.
Yeah, why did I don't... I got goose
like,
pimples.
what is this? And to make matters worse, the boat is back out there. It showed up again this afternoon and it's just sitting there in the same place as yesterday. Are they watching me from that boat? I keep hearing things at night. I stand out on the deck and I can feel like I can hear things moving through the trees.
Go outside. Sorry.
I know, right? I would straight up be like, I'm never good.
No.
I would leave. I would have left a while ago.
I would have left, like, when I first saw that person in the woods. That would have been...
Oh, for sure.
I would have been fucking out. Because those bones, like, who knows how long those have been there. I'm into witchy shit. If there's a coven out there doing their thing, I don't care.
Right.
But that person, nah. Out. I'm done.
Right. I'd be like, we're gone. It's probably just deer or something, but I can't help imagining it's something else. I'm sure I'm making it out to be worse than... Oh, and this is November 6th at this point.
Mm-hmm.
The last one and this one is now November 6th, 2018. I'm sure I'm making it out to be worse than it is. Are deer nocturnal? I see them out on the road sometimes when I'm driving into town. I try not to think about it.
Yeah, they move at night most often.
Right.
They're most active at dusk and dawn.
That's what I thought I had read somewhere. But last night it was worse. I heard screams. That sounds so stupid to say, but I don't know what else to call it. I was brushing my teeth and heard something out the bathroom window. I know, right? I'm sure it was an animal, but my toothbrush was buzzing, so I can't be sure. He's got that electric toothbrush.
He's living that electric toothbrush life.
Bougie.
Bougie.
And then this morning I found the bloody remains of something right in the middle of my yard. It was literal intestines and they were fresh. I feel like I can't even post something like that to Twitter. Like, is it going to get flagged if I post it? I don't know what to do. Maybe I can upload it separately. I believe so.
Okay. If it's not bad, I don't mind looking at that because that's dog food to me. Like,
right.
Because I feed raw, so I'm less grossed out by things like that.
It's a lot of guts.
How bad is it? Like,
it's
that's like that's a little big to be a possum.
But he said, I'm sure it's an animal, but what did this and why was it left right in front of my house? Quite fair.
You know, it's a little bit big, but it could be bloated. But
that's fair.
It doesn't have the right colorings to be a possum. But if it was a really large hare, it could be a rabbit.
That's a good point. Yeah, and plus intestines. There's so much intestines in your body.
Yeah, that it looks like it expands when it's out. I'm like, let's guess what this is by its guts. Like, haha, so fun, Dan.
He was like, yeah, sorry, it's disgusting. Anyway, I scooped it up with a shovel and flung them into the woods a ways away from my house. I don't know if bears are up here, but I couldn't leave it. And besides, animal guts are the least of my worries right now.
Honestly, the animal guts are the ones that freak me out the least out of all of that. That could have just been like a coyote or something.
That fucking eyeball in the water is, I'm like, nope.
That's gross. I mean, the same thing. It could have just been like, you know, from another animal.
It didn't look very animal to me, honey.
Yeah.
No, sir. Oh, Jesus. I just ran into
it didn't have, like, the herbivore eye that was, like, had that horizontal iris, or not iris,
No.
pupils.
Not that I could tell.
Don't like that.
He said, I've been trying to figure out what's written in this notebook from the woods. I've had it for a couple of days and I can see faint letters, but I can't make them out. A bunch of people replied and told me to do pencil or charcoal rubbing, but I didn't have anything like that. I found a bunch of pens, but no pencils, so I had to go back into town. It was actually really hard to find charcoal. I finally had some luck at
How
this
is it
little
hard to
hardware store.
find charcoal?
I don't know. I mean, if he's at this little ass town,
Yeah, that's
in
true.
basically the middle of nowhere. The box didn't even have a price tag on it, so I feel like it had been sitting on the shelf for years. It seems like people in town are starting to recognize me. I don't like it. I didn't plan to be here that long, but it looks like I might not have a choice. People are nice enough, but it seems like the kind of town where everyone knows everyone, and I definitely don't belong. When I was in the hardware store, these little kids were following me around giggling and making fun of me. I think they were twins. I couldn't really hear what they were saying, but I'm sure they were making fun of me because little kids are jerks.
Wow. Somebody has a chip on his shoulder.
I know, right? On the way out of town, I stopped at the grocery store, but they were out of some of the things I wanted. It seems like they're always out of stuff. They've been out of eggs for a couple of days, so I just got some Pop-Tarts and stuff and left. Anyway, the notebook, I've actually been putting it off for most of the afternoon because I wasn't sure I wanted to find out what that woman was writing in it. I can't ignore it forever. I'm going to eat dinner, and then I guess I'll try the charcoal. I'll be back in a bit. Jesus, I did a charcoal.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, you go ahead.
I was like, how does he know it was the woman?
I guess he's assuming.
Yeah.
Because that's the only bitch he's seen there.
Yeah, this is true.
Jesus, so I did a charcoal rubbing over the most recent page in the book, like people were telling me to. I'm not sure what I was expecting, but it wasn't this. I'm sort of freaking out. Do you want the picture?
No, I don't.
And so it just says repeatedly over and over and over on the entire page, they took my eyes.
Oh, I don't like that.
Who took your eyes, honey? Like, fuck no.
I don't like that at all.
Yeah, no, it's creepy. It's a creepy picture.
I'm very unsettled. I'm gonna have a panic attack.
Get that Xanny kicking in.
I know. I'm like waiting for the Xanax to hit me. Like, no.
What even is this? What the fuck? I feel like I'm gonna throw up. I need to go sit down. What the hell is going on? And now this is November 9th, 2018. I called my mom yesterday. I wanted to see if she knew anything about this place. She said I've actually been there before when I was really young. I don't remember any of that. I tried to ask her again why she never got along with my grandfather, but she's so cagey about it. She grew up in town nearby, and my grandfather didn't move into the house until after my mom left for school. I guess she never really came back. We talked for a little bit, but my reception here is spotty. She asked me if there's still wine in the cellar, and I told her there wasn't a cellar, but she said there is down in the basement off to a corner. After she hung up, I went downstairs to look, and she was right. And then it's just a picture of a bunch of wine. He said there's a bunch of old antique stuff in the basement, and behind some filing cabinets there's a dusty little wine cellar. I can't believe I missed it at first. It's full of wine, and some of it's really old. And then he's like has some pictures of the antiques. He said there are also these weird wooden wine stoppers all over the place. And then there's a picture of a dead mouse. It says, from the looks of this, it seems like nobody's been down here for a while. Poor guy. Then he has some pictures of some of the older wines.
And that's what makes me suspicious is that he puts a photo of a dead mouse in there. I'm like, why?
Right.
Like, there's no need.
That's fair. That's fair. Good point. He said, and look at some of these bottles. I don't know anything about wine. I wonder if they're good. Anyway, at least I'll have a surplus of alcohol down here to take my mind off of how weird things have been lately. And then he said, this house keeps surprising me. I keep finding weird shit around the property, like there's a collapsed shed in the back, a little ways through the trees. It's not that strange, I guess, but I can't help overthink everything I see now. And then he has pictures of basically old, like metal things, like part of metal structures, part of maybe an engine or something, and a sign. A little ways away from the shed, I found this in the middle of a clearing. What is this? And it's basically like a rabbit garden statue, but it was clearly painted with lead paint because it's peeling.
Yeah.
He says, none of this makes any sense, and there's something else I found that I can't stop thinking about. There's so much junk around the house, and I'm trying to clean it up, partly because it'll help this place sell faster, but also to keep my mind off things. I was sorting through some debris and found these old rusty letters in a pile on the ground, partly under the foundation. I could see some nail holes in the side of the house, so I think they were on the house at one point. And then he has a picture of all the letters. He said, I know sometimes people give lake houses names. I can't figure out what they might have said, though. I brought them inside and laid them out on the kitchen floor to see if I could make sense of them, but no luck so far. Maybe someone else could figure it out. And he said, and then so jump forward a couple of weeks, and it's now November 21st, 2018. Do you want me to send you the picture of the letters at all?
Nah, I'm actually, as long as it's not creepy, yeah.
Oh, no, it's not. There's just metal letters.
Oh, yeah, go for it. Ooh, that looks like a fun Scrabble word game.
I know.
I'm sure there's people out there that figure that out. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, and they did.
Oh, and they did.
We will find out. Yes. So November 21st says, sorry for not updating in a while. The reception up here is terrible, and I haven't been able to get Twitter to load all that often. At least there's lots of wine in the cellar, so I haven't been too bored. I've mostly been trying to keep busy getting the house in shape to sell. A realtor is supposed to come up here next week to help me formally list it, which is good because I'd like to get out of here. But there's something weird about the town down the road that I can't figure out. I've been getting cabin fever pretty bad, so the other day I drove into town to have breakfast and wander around a little bit to get my mind off things. There's only one restaurant in the whole town from what I can tell. I went in there to eat, and the whole experience was sort of bizarre. I'm not really sure how to explain it. Anyway, I ordered the Eggs Benedict off the menu. The waitress had a pretty chilly attitude, but nothing out of the ordinary, but then she brought out my food. And it's a picture of his food. He said they'd totally forgotten the eggs on my Eggs Benedict. It was just ham and hollandaise.
Ew.
I know. But also I love hollandaise sauce. I called the waitress back and told her she'd forgotten my eggs, and all she said was, we don't have that. I asked how a diner could be out of eggs,
not have
early
eggs
in the day. Right? I know. It's like, it's a diner, too.
Also, eggs are like, I don't know, 5 cents each. Like,
right.
How do you not have eggs?
And so he was like, what? He was like, how could a diner be out of eggs? Like, it's morning also. Like, there's not many people here. And he was like, she just said sorry and walked away. It was so weird. And then he took a picture of the menu. And he was like, I'm confused. So I took a second to look at the menu. I realized the description doesn't actually list eggs in the menu. And then I realized eggs aren't listed anywhere on the menu, even in the sides. And so it'll say, like, Benedict, Florentine, Crab Benedict. And in the descriptions, it does not say egg anywhere.
Weird.
So, pretty weird.
Do they have a vendetta against chickens?
Honestly, who fucking knows?
They would hate us. We have too many chickens.
Nancy. I love Nancy.
I love Nancy too.
What a queen. And so he had that. He said, what kind of diner doesn't have eggs at all? That might make sense in a vegan restaurant or something, but they have meat all over the menu. I can't figure it out. Also, on my way out, there was this family in a booth sort of watching me leave. They were all being really quiet in a sort of obvious way. They had 2 twin girls with them. I'm definitely not coming back here. I was thinking about the whole way home. There are too many things that don't make sense, and I don't feel any closer to figuring it out. But one thing seems to be clear. I'm not welcome here. When I got home, I found something folded up and wedged in my front door near the handle. Someone clearly wants me gone, and on the paper it just says leave.
Ugh, I don't like that. That's yucky.
Yeah. He said it was written on the back of a tag of some sort. I suspect it was that eyeless woman from before. I haven't seen her, but I think she's still out here. I think something bad is coming. I'm gonna go pop another bottle of wine. I don't know what else to do right now. And then about a week later, this is now November 29th, I saw something out in the woods today. I've been trying to not spend all my time at the house since being cooped up all the time makes me feel crazy. Even though it might not be super safe to be out alone in the woods, it still feels better than being home all the time. God, I can't believe I just referred to that place as home. I've been here too long. Anyway, I was taking a walk today. These woods would be pretty if it didn't feel like someone was going to murder me out here. I was almost enjoying myself when I stumbled into a clearing and found something strange. There was a single filthy chair. Oh, don't. There was a single filthy chair overlooking a ledge. It didn't seem that creepy at first, but I got this funny feeling, so I took out my phone and pulled up my Maps app, and sure enough, the chair was pointed in the exact direction of my house. It was probably a mile away from the house at that point, but it was still weird. It made me feel queasy, and I didn't want to stick around, so I hustled out of there, but I would barely walk 30 feet when I found something else, something way worse. I don't even know how to describe it. And he said, what the hell is this? It's another hexy, not hex, but like witchy looking thing. Do you want me to send a picture of that?
You know what? Let's just, no more pictures, I think.
No more pictures?
I think so that might just be a good idea. I don't want to leave I don't want to get so freaked out that I leave the podcast in the middle of the podcast.
That's fair. So it's like a skull and there's some shells and stuff like that. And he has a video of like a bug crawling on it. He said, it freaked me out, but I was mesmerized by it at the same time. I couldn't stop staring at it. I felt like I was in a daze. It seems like every day there's something new, but I'm not closer to understanding what's happening out here or why. I finally pulled myself away and practically stumbled away from the rock. I felt dizzy walking away. I just wanted to go back home. I started back in the direction of the house, and that's when I saw her, that woman from before.
No.
She was standing up on a hill, seemingly staring at nothing. I darted behind a tree, but luckily I don't think she saw me. I hadn't seen her in weeks, but I knew she was still out here. And then he posts a video, and she's just standing there. He said, I took a video from behind the tree. I don't even know why. It's not like it'll do any good, but at least I have proof that I wasn't imagining any of this. He said, eventually she left the hill and disappeared into the woods. Once I was sure she was gone, I left the tree and practically ran back home. The whole way back, I kept expecting her to appear again and attack me or something. I don't understand what she's doing out here. Is she a witch? That sounds so stupid, but I don't know how to explain any of this. Those weird stick artifacts and now this thing on the rock, it feels like fucking witchcraft or something. It feels like the Blair Witch Project. And who's on that boat that I keep seeing out there on the lake? Why is everyone in town so weird? At this point, I just want answers, and I feel like I'm getting close to getting them. I'm just scared of what they might be. He said, I found out, and this is now December 11th, so we skipped from November 29th to December 11th. He said, I found out what those letters spell. I'd basically forgotten about it after finding them outside the house, but I put them back in the back of the closet and pretty much stopped thinking about them. But yesterday I found something else. There's this little alcove upstairs with built-in shelves and a bunch of old books, sort of a mini library. I was flipping through some of them looking for something to read when I came across this little book about wine. I would not read a book about wine.
That just seems really boring.
I know. He said tucked inside were a couple of old Polaroid photos. They were pretty faded, so it was hard to make out what they were. And some of the forest. He's like, the first one was pretty unremarkable. It looks like photos of the trees. The second one was even blurrier. For a minute, I didn't even know what I was looking at, but then I realized it was of the house and the letters I found on the ground a couple of weeks ago. The photo was super fuzzy, so it took me a second, but I was able to make it out. And then it's a picture of the photo, and the letters spelled out Deepwater Chapel.
Ew.
And I know.
That doesn't sound good.
It really doesn't. No, it really doesn't. He said, this is so weird. I've never heard that name before. Was my house a church or something? I spent the afternoon going through all the other books in the library, but didn't find any other pictures. I don't know what to make of this. I'll let you know if I find anything else, but yeah, I don't know. And then December 13th, so 2 days later, he said, she was here. That woman was in my house. Sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. I can barely type. Sorry, I'll try to explain. All right, so I was in the woods out back yesterday when it started pouring. It happened really suddenly, and even though I wasn't far from the house, I got soaked anyway. It rained most of the evening. I left my clothes by the fireplace to dry and ended up going to bed early. Or I guess it was today. Sorry, I'm still not really awake yet. Anyway, I had this awful dream tonight. Sorry if I'm rambling a bit. I'm still trying to collect my thoughts. Sorry, my hands are shaking. In the dream, I was on the deck outside with a bunch of friends from back home. We were all sitting in a circle. My friend Eric was there talking about how creepy the woods were. He was saying how the trees were just big black silhouettes and anything could be out there watching you and you'd never know it. He was sort of freaking me out, but I was trying not to show it. I know what you're doing and it's not going to work. You're not going to scare me. And Eric sort of narrowed his eyes at me and said, I bet I can scare you. Something about the way he said it made me very uneasy. And I was like, all right, very funny. You can stop now. But Eric wasn't smiling anymore. He was just staring back at me. The whole mood seemed to shift at that point. Nobody in the circle was talking anymore and suddenly got really quiet. No sound except the wind from the lake below. Any trace of joking has disappeared from Eric's face. After a long minute, he slowly cocked his head to the side a bit and said, "Is there someone here with us right now who shouldn't be?" All of a sudden, I was too scared to break Eric's gaze, afraid I'd see something I didn't want to. For a long time, we just stared at each other. Nobody said anything. Then very softly, Eric said, "Is there somebody watching you sleep right now, Greg?"
Oh my god, no.
And so
I'm very
he said
afraid.
that-
I'm going to I'm gonna freak out.
It's fair. I was so scared when I first heard this. I heard it on a podcast.
Oh my god.
I wanted to do something scary for Halloween.
I'm such a pussy. I might actually have to like mute you and let you finish this. I'm gonna freak out.
How about I warn you before some really scary parts, and you
Okay, cool.
then you can decide if you want
I'm
to.
so sorry, guys. I am literally a huge pussy.
Think about this as fake though, because I don't know how this could be real as we get to the later parts.
Dude, it doesn't matter. I scare so easy. It literally does not matter if it's fake. I'm afraid.
He said, "That's when I bolted awake. It was in the middle of the night. I was alone in my room, but I had this weird feeling that someone had just been there in the room with me. I laid there in bed for a minute, too terrified to move, too scared to breathe even. And then I heard something downstairs. At least I thought I did. This house is always making sounds, so I couldn't be sure. I hesitated for a second, then crept out of bed and went down the hall, trying to be as quiet as possible. From the second floor landing, I could see the living room and part of the kitchen. Everything seemed normal. I could hear the wind blowing pretty loudly outside, so I figured maybe I hadn't heard anything at all. I tried to calm myself down. I was wide awake at that point and too shaken to go back to bed, so I went downstairs to get a snack or some coffee or something. I walked into the kitchen, then stopped dead in my tracks. There's a door in the kitchen that leads outside, and it was wide open. I know I locked it. I lock all the doors every night, and even if I forgot to lock it, I know I wouldn't leave the door open like this. The whole kitchen floor is wet with rain. I'm calling a locksmith first thing in the morning to come change the locks. Shit. I want to leave, but I don't even know where I'd go. I'm alone out here. Should I find a motel?
Yes.
And I just realized Yeah, I know, right? And I just realized my wet clothes are gone. She fucking stole my clothes. I'm not spending the night here. And someone said, if she was able to navigate in the house and she has no eyes, that means she's familiar with the house and the house layout. She's been in there before and knows it well enough to walk around without bumping into anything and making a lot of noise. Get the fuck out.
Yeah.
And then he replied, I didn't even think of this. I left, but I'm still freaking out a bit. I'm trying to find a hotel or something. And then skip forward 10 days to December 23rd, 2018. He said, I'm sorry, I haven't said anything in a while. I've been staying in a motel about an hour outside of town. When I left the house that night, I just kept driving until I felt like I was far enough away to feel safe. I called a locksmith, but they weren't able to come out right away, and there was no way I was going back to that house without new locks. So I've been waiting it out here until I can go back, basically doing nothing, jumping at every little sound, and feeling crazy. Finally, a couple of days ago, the locksmith called back and said he'd come out, so I checked out of the motel, got my car to drive home. It was a pretty long drive back, and the closer I got to the woods, the worse I felt. In my head, I knew going back was wrong, but I can't just leave for good. I don't understand. I can't explain it. I can't leave. I don't expect anyone to understand. I don't even understand. Anyway, I drove past town and reached the woods where the roads get worse and harder to drive on. They get twisty as you drive up the house, and you have to be careful not to hit deer. I almost always see a dozen or so deer on my drive, but today there were none. Not a single deer in sight. In fact, the woods seemed a lot quieter than usual. I could have been imagining it, but something definitely seemed off. I was almost ready to turn around when something darted across the road. It was so fast that I wasn't sure I saw it at all. I panicked and swerved off the road into a deep groove on the roadside. By the time I realized what had happened, the thing was gone. I have no idea what it was. It was just a blur, but it wasn't a deer. It was red like blood. Worse, my car was stuck. It was my mom's old car, this weak little two-wheel drive, and I couldn't manage to get it out of the groove. I sat there for a long time trying to figure out what to do. I knew it wasn't a good idea to walk the rest of the way, but if I didn't, I'd miss the locksmith and I'd have to either spend the night in the house with old locks or go back to the motel, which I couldn't afford. Also, how the fuck do you get your car out there to go back to the motel is my question.
Yeah.
I wasn't too far from the house, so I made the most sense to walk the rest of the way and call a tow truck from home. I needed to meet the locksmith anyway, so I got out and started walking. Once I was outside, I realized I'd been right about the woods seeming quieter than usual. I couldn't even hear any birds. It was dead silent. My footsteps seemed so loud, every twig that cracked under my shoe sounded like a bone breaking. I was periodically checking my phone's GPS to make sure I was heading the right way. I had just rechecked my route and was about to put my phone away when I saw something that made my heart sink. It was another one of those artifacts like the ones I'd seen on my first day here, but it had one of my gloves tied to it from the rainstorm last week. When I left my clothes by the fire to dry, there were a pair of gloves with them. I knew that woman had taken my clothes that night, and this just confirmed it. I also knew I'd find the rest of my clothes before I even saw them, and sure enough, I found more of those artifacts not far from the first. He said I found my other glove, my socks, and bandana, everything from that night except for a sweatshirt I've been wearing. So he has a picture of all the artifacts with his clothes in them.
I don't want them. I don't want it. I don't want to look at
He
it.
said, I left them alone this time. Good. He learned something. I didn't want to touch them. All I wanted to do was get back to the house, get the locks changed, and call a tow truck. I started jogging a bit, wanting nothing more than to get away from those stick things. But after a while, I started to think I should have been home already. I slowed my pace and took out my phone, but it wouldn't calibrate this time. It couldn't seem to locate me in the GPS. Still, I could hear the lake off to my left, which meant if I kept walking alongside it, I should get to my house eventually. So I kept moving and tried not to think about getting lost. I must have gotten turned around because I was walking for what seemed like ages. I found myself in a part of the woods that seemed unfamiliar. I had no idea where I was, and then suddenly I saw something off in the distance.
Oh god, trigger warning. Yes, no?
I'll read this. The sentence isn't scary.
Okay.
You said something bright white, almost seeming to glow against the trees. There's a picture. And you can just kind of see it bright white against the dark green.
Yeah.
I couldn't figure out what it was from a distance, so I went closer, trying to be as quiet as I could. When I actually got close enough to see what it was, my mouth literally fell open. Do you want me to tell you what it was?
Is it like an animal?
No.
Is it a person?
No.
I don't know.
It could belong to an animal.
Is it? It's bone?
No. Something. Should I just say?
God, I don't know. I don't know if I want to know. Just go ahead.
Okay, it was eggs.
Oh, okay. That's
huge eggs, all in a cluster like a nest.
Like a Komodo dragon or something, like an ostrich egg, huge.
They have pictures. I don't know if you wanted...
Nope, I don't need it.
I figured you probably didn't. They were enormous. It's hard to explain their size, but you can sort of see in relation to my boot here. I'm gonna look. Oh, wow, that's fucking massive. Jesus. They look kind of like big-ass balloons, sort of, but I don't know. They just kind of look like impeccable eggs. I feel like I was dreaming. Before I even knew what I was doing, I touched one. I couldn't help myself. It was warm. I had a sudden urge to smash it and see what was inside, but then just as quickly decided against it.
Ew.
I felt sick, like I was going to throw up if I didn't leave right away. I left the clearing and tried to listen for the lake, then I headed in that direction. I got to the lake shore and felt a little better since I was out of the trees. I had a better view of my surrounding, and I was able to pinpoint my house a ways down the shore. I never thought I'd be so happy to see it. The rest of the way back, I felt like I had vertigo. I couldn't make sense of everything that I had just seen. I still can't. I reached the house and somehow felt a little better once I was inside. The locksmith arrived a little bit later and changed out the locks. I watched him work in a daze. I also had him install deadbolts. I called a tow truck and they got my car out of the ditch, but now I'm alone again and I can't stop thinking about what I saw. Honestly, at this point, I would just drive into not even this town, but a town next over. Sleep in your car. Better than this fucking house.
Oh, I would be driving to my mother's house. Like,
true. I'd be shipping out.
Yeah.
Ugh. Okay. He said, excuse me.
You're good.
He said, I can't figure any of this out. I don't know what's happening. I know I should leave, but I just can't. I can't. At least nobody can get inside tonight. At least I'm safe inside. I heard something. Someone was outside. That was on the 29th. So everything up till then was the 23rd. This is December 29th, 2018. I heard something. Someone was outside. I was in the kitchen washing a glass and I heard something outside on the deck, a scratching sound, and then it stopped. I thought I imagined it, but then I heard footsteps. And for some reason, I just ran outside without thinking. I don't know what's wrong with me. I don't even know if I'm scared anymore. I just want answers. I can't be sure, but I think it was her. I saw someone running into the woods. I'm sure it was her, but I couldn't catch her in time. I thought about chasing her into the woods, but decided against it. I don't want to get lost out there at night. Yeah, fuck that. I turned around to go back inside, and that's when I saw what she had been doing on my deck in the first place. It was another artifact, and it had the sweatshirt.
Okay. Sorry, I'm a huge pussy. Maybe I should just take my headphones off and let you finish the story. I'm so scared. My chill pill, the Xanax is not kicking in, dude. I'm very afraid.
Do you? I'm gonna read what she wrote on the wall.
Okay,
so
I'm gonna take my headphones off. So go for it.
Okay, so it said, "Fear the new moon," and this is a really big one, and it was like all the way on the top of the whole wall. So he said, honestly, I was just going to leave it there. I'm sick of this. I was about to go back inside when I noticed there was something written on the wall behind the artifact. I hadn't even seen it before. Fear the new moon. What the fuck does that mean? I don't know where that woman got a fucking marker, and I don't like how fucking familiar she feels around my house and property. I hate that I consider this my house now. This feels normal now. I'm losing it. I want this to end.
I didn't realize I had signed up for something this scary. When you said, like, oh, it's no clowns, it's nothing, it's fine. Like, I don't know. I think a lot of people underestimate how much of a pussy I
am. He said, basically, I hate that I consider this my house now, that this is feeling normal now. He's like, I want this to end. Whatever this new moon shit is, I feel like something's coming. Fuck this. And then he looks up when the new moon is. And so he's talking about this on December 29th. The new moon is January 5th. It says there's going to be a storm tomorrow. So it's now January 4th. Skip from December 29th to January 4th. Yeah. The new moon is tomorrow too. I should be fine if I just stay inside. It's been storming all day and into the night. Thunder and everything. I've stayed inside all day. Nothing has happened yet. Maybe nothing will happen. Still, I'm nervous. I've been freaked out all day. Maybe I shouldn't have stayed. I don't know what's wrong with me. I should leave tomorrow. Yeah, you should have left.
You should have left like ago. Way a long time ago.
Yeah, he's been here since like October,
and I think. It's January.
It's now January. Yeah.
Fuck that.
He said, I'm not even really sure what I'm saying. I just need to occupy myself with something. Writing this makes me feel less alone. It's like I'm talking to someone. I can't do this anymore. I'm leaving tomorrow. First thing in the morning. I don't care about selling this house anymore. I just want to go home. I just need to make it through the night. I'll be fine if I stay inside. The locks are new and nobody can get in. I'll be fine. I'm going to go get some wine and stay in the upstairs bedroom tonight. It'll be okay. I'm going to say one thing, and then you're going to want to take your headphones off.
Okay, cool.
He said, she's here.
And they're off. And they're off.
She was in the cellar. Fuck, I practically ran into her. She didn't even hear me because of the thunder outside. And then there's a picture of her standing there, and she has like barely any hair, and she's facing all the wine. And he says her back was to me, and she was standing dead still in the middle of the room, just staring at the wall. I couldn't move. I was petrified. All I could do was stand there like a fool and stare back at the back of her head. And then she turned around and she spoke to me. All right, so she's good. It says, he next wrote, she said she won't hurt me. She said she'd explain everything. I'm sorry this is all happening so fast. She's sitting in my living room now. I can't believe this is happening. Sorry, I'm just trying to make sense of this. She said she'll tell me everything. I'll be back. Okay, so I'll try to relay everything she said, but there was so much of it, I can barely keep track of it all. I'll start at the beginning. First, she said she's made the stick things for my protection. She says it's dangerous out here, and she was trying to protect me. When I asked what she was trying to protect me from, she was quiet for a long time. When she finally replied, I could barely hear her. There are things in the water. I didn't really believe her.
Cool.
But I didn't have any rational explanation for the things I've seen. I like how he's like, I didn't really believe her, yet there was all this bullshit occurring around him.
Right.
So instead I just listened. Here's what she told me. A long time ago, something came from the sky and landed in the lake. It brought something with it, something ancient and strange. The people who lived here began to commune with it. They protected it from the outside world, devoted their lives to it, and in return the thing gave them a gift. I had so many questions, but I didn't know which ones to ask, so I just sat there in silence and took it all in. The woman continued. In the beginning, there was just one. It spent most of its time deep in the lake slumbering, but over time it made more. Instinctively, I asked about the eggs I saw in the woods. The woman nodded. There are so many of them now, she said. They come from the water to lay eggs, and the people take care of them, hide them away until they can hatch, but when they hatch, they need to feed. Oh, I totally missed this part. People began to commune with it. The thing gave them a gift. The people were blessed with abnormally long, healthy lives and many children, but it all came with a price. He said, at this point, I was starting to put two and two together. I thought about all the twins I'd seen in town. She must have sensed my understanding because she spoke again. I told you there was a price. The people in this town are blessed with many children, but they don't get to keep them all. When the eggs hatch, the people must bring one of their own to the woods. The creatures need to eat. She was quiet again. They start with your eyes. And remember, she has no eyes. I asked her how she knew all this, but I already knew the answer. I know because it happened to me, she said. When I was a girl, my father brought me into the wood with the others, offered me up to the newborns. How do you choose which one? Like,
right?
What determines, like, Betty wronged me today. She's getting thrown to the monster.
She's getting yeeted.
She's getting yeeted. Yeetus my fetus. She turned her head toward the window like she was gazing into the distance. They took my eyes. I waited until she was ready to speak again. It was a long time before she did. She told me how she was led to one of the eggs, how she watched it break open, how something came out of it. And before she knew it, something was on her, burrowing into her eyes. She wasn't sure what happened next. She only remembers the searing pain, and suddenly she was free. She doesn't know if she managed to push the creature off or if someone helped her, but she got away and ran into the woods. She ran until she couldn't breathe anymore. She was too scared to go home, so she stayed in the woods. Eventually, the forest became her home, and she's been there ever since. How this bitch survived, I have no idea, but props to her.
Yeah.
I felt completely bewildered. None of this made any sense to me, but at the same time it did somehow. I had so many questions I wanted to ask, but I couldn't sort my thoughts. I couldn't figure out what to say. Finally asked, why are you telling me this now after all this time? The woman didn't say anything at first. She took a long, labored breath. It's the same every year, she said. They come out of the water in the fall, lay their eggs. A few of them begin to hatch early. They feed on the animals in the woods, so that's what that dead animal was from.
Mm.
They need strength to make it back to the water. But most of them hatch when it's darkest. She turned to me, even without eyes. I felt like she was staring right at me. Tonight is the new moon, she whispered. Tonight is the ceremony. My stomach began to sink as realization set in, realization about what was happening out there in the woods at that very moment. We have to do something to stop it, I blurted out. I started getting out of my chair, but she just shook her head. She said there was nothing we could do. It happens the same way every year. We can't stop it. But I wasn't listening anymore. I don't know what came over me, but I jumped up and ran out the door, ran into the woods. I don't even know where I was going. At some point, the rain had stopped. It was dark and I couldn't see anything, but I could hear things all around me. Things moving through the trees, and I could see lights in the distance, fire or flashlights, I don't know. I had no idea where to go or what to do. More than once, something ran by me in the trees. I was using my phone as a flashlight and tried to take pictures of the trees, trying to see what was out there, but everything was happening so fast. And then he has a picture of, like, the tall grass and stuff, and he said, I don't know what these are, and you can see some things. I won't send them
I don't
unless...
need to.
Yeah. And then he said, this is the clearest shot I could get. They all moved really fast. And then it's kind of, it looks like the head of whatever this thing is. And it's creepy AF. And, like, red and stuff. So maybe that was what the red thing that crossed the street was. So fuck that. I ran for what seemed like an eternity, ran in circles. I had no idea where I even was. And then somehow I was back in that same clearing where the eggs had been, but they were gone now. Nothing but bits of shell left on the ground, and there are pictures of the shells. It was over. I was too late. It had already happened, and they'd been cleaned up. I was too late. And this is January 6th now. I meant to mention it's been January 6th. The new moon's occurring. This is late at night.
Yeah.
I stood alone in the clearing. Sorry, I was making sure I read the other thing. I stood alone in the clearing. The lights in the distance were disappearing. It was getting quieter, and just like that, I was running again, running toward the lake. I don't even know why. I couldn't do anything. Branches scraped my face as I ran blindly through the trees. I reached the water, but there was nothing there. I saw some faint ripples out on the black water, but besides that, it was silent. It was over. I was too late. I'm back at the house now. The woman is gone. It's so quiet. I don't know what to say right now. I'm going to leave in the morning. I'm sorry. I just don't know what else to say. I'm sorry. I'm still here. And this is then 10 days later, January 16th. I'm still here. I'm alive. I left the house after that night. I decided not to sell it. I don't think anyone would buy it anyway. I locked the doors and I got in my car and I left. I'm home now trying to process everything. The morning after, it was so quiet and peaceful in the woods. It was just like it was like nothing had happened at all. I'm still not sure what to believe. It sort of feels like it happened to someone else, or like I dreamed it maybe. Sorry it took me so long to update. I wasn't sure what to say. I still have so many questions. I might never have all the answers. But something happened out there. I can't explain it, and I don't know if I could have done anything to stop it. But whatever it was, I can't let it happen again. That's why I'm not selling the house. That woman said this happens every year. If she was telling the truth, then maybe there's something I can do next time. I have to try. So I guess that's all for now. I'm heading back to school next week, so hopefully that will take my mind off things. I need some sense of normalcy again. I'm not sure when I'll tweet again. I need to take a break and get my head together, but I'll be back. I have to go back. I won't let it happen again. And that was on January 16th, 2019, and there has not been a single post since.
I don't like that.
So I doubt you'll look him up anyways, but I am going to credit him. So his name is Greg, and his Twitter handle is Gregory88, and the E in Gregory is a 3. So yeah. I hope you enjoyed that.
I didn't.
Well, I scared Danny for Halloween. I hope I scared the rest of you.
It was good though. It was a very well told story. I'm just a huge pussy.
So huge 100% shout out reference to Greg from Gregory88 on Twitter, because I basically just read his post. But yeah,
he just plagiarized.
But I heard this story get told on the podcast, and that's why we drank. And I was so creeped out when I was hearing this, and I was like, this would be a good Halloween one.
I mean, it's a fucking great story. I don't know how true that is.
Right.
But, like, I can see there being semblances of truth in there.
Yes, exactly. I agree. So, who knows? Could be real, could be all fake, could be partially real. Who knows? But that is my story. And now shout out to Mama J, patron of the week. I hope you guys all enjoyed that story and you weren't too scared, but hopefully you were scared just enough because it's almost Halloween. And if you would like to support us in any way, shape, or form, specifically financially, feel free to hit up our Patreon, which you can find via our Instagram, the link in our Instagram bio, and our Instagram is You Don't Look At Podcast. You can find the link to everything else we got on there, like our Facebook, as I said, our Patreon, some links to places like Stitcher and iHeartRadio, if you want to listen there. But if you're listening now, you probably know where you listen. If you want to hit us up, either with some suggestions for stories or suggestions for what you'd like to see be on Patreon, or even just to tell us some of your own stories, you can message us on Instagram, or you can email us at youdon'tlookatpodcast@gmail.com. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I hope I didn't scar any of you like I scarred Danny, who had to take a Xanax because my story was so terrible.
I mean, I feel better now. Like, I don't think I'm gonna go to I don't think I'm gonna go to sleep like fully terrified or anything.
Good.
Like, guys, I scare so easy. It's not even funny. Like, if I see a scary ad for, like, I remember the It movies. Like, It 2 came out a few years ago. And I saw the ad where the naked old lady was running around in the background.
Oh, yeah.
And I was scared for like a full month. Like a full month.
That's fair, though. Oh my god. Yeah, no, that's fair. That's quite fair.
Like my worst PTSD symptom is like being easily startled and like having heightened fear reactions, and it really shows.
And it really shows. That's really 100% fair, though. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. We'll be back at you next week with, I'll be sure to not tell a terrifying story, as to not scare or scar Danny. But Thank you guys for listening, and we will see you next week. Bye.
Bye. One, two, I'm pregnant. What? 3, click.
Just a disclaimer, though, folks. Danny is not pregnant, as far as I'm aware.
Oh no, I'm not pregnant. Thank God.
Thank God.